Alright, so today we're diving into something super important for understanding how our bodies maintain balance, the endocrine system. This complex network of glands and hormones plays a critical role in controlling almost every function in your body, from hunger and thirst to sleep cycles and stress responses. By the end of this, you'll have a solid grasp of how the endocrine system works and how it helps maintain homeostasis. Let's jump in. Alright, so the endocrine system is like the body's internal communication system. It's made up of endocrine glands that secrete hormones into the bloodstream. Once these hormones reach their target cells, they bind to specific receptors and boom. Those cells change what they're doing, whether that's growing, producing more energy, or regulating other bodily functions. It's all about keeping balance, what we call a homeostasis, even when the environment around us changes. Now, let's talk about the structure of hormones. Hormones can be divided into two main types, steroids and non-steroids. Steroid hormones are derived from cholesterol and are produced by the adrenal glands and the gonads, so either the testes or the ovaries. These hormones are hydrophobic, meaning they hate watery environments like the bloodstream. That's why they need transport proteins to travel through the blood. But here's the kicker. Because they're nonpolar, steroid hormones can easily pass through the cell's phospholipid membrane and bind to intracellular receptors that can activate specific genes in the nucleus. Non-steroid hormones, on the other hand, are either peptides or proteins, chains of amino acids, or they can be derived from a single amino acid. These hormones, like insulin and glucagon, are hydrophilic, meaning they love moving through blood. However, they can't pass through cell membranes, so they bind to cell surface receptors instead, triggering a cascade of changes inside the cell without actually entering it. Think of it as delivering a message at the door rather than stepping inside. But wait, there's more. Some hormones are derived from the amino acid tyrosine, like the thyroid hormones and adrenaline, also called epinephrine. Thyroid hormones act a lot like steroids. They bind to transport proteins, cross the cell membrane, and influence gene expression. Adrenaline and noradrenaline, also known as norepinephrine, act more like peptides. They travel unbound through the blood and bind to cell surface receptors. When these hormones kick in, like during a fight or flight response, you get things like increased blood flow to your muscles and a racing heart, which is all pretty useful when you're in a stressful situation. Now, let's introduce the real MVPs of the endocrine system, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. They're like the CEO and the COO of the body's hormonal network. The hypothalamus sits at the base of your brain and is the link between the nervous system and the endocrine system. It gets information from all over the body, things like body temperature, blood osmolarity, or even danger. Then it sends out hormones that either get stored in the posterior pituitary or affect the anterior pituitary, telling it to make hormones of its own. The pituitary gland is split into two lobes, the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. The anterior lobe is all about making its own hormones when stimulated by the hypothalamus, while the posterior lobe stores hormones produced by the hypothalamus. So how does the hypothalamus control all these other glands? It's through a system of stimulatory and inhibitory hormones. Let's start with the stimulatory hormones. TRH, thyrotropin-releasing hormone, stimulates the anterior pituitary to release TSH, thyroid-stimulating hormone, which then tells the thyroid to produce more thyroid hormones. CRH, corticotropin-releasing hormone, tells the anterior pituitary to secrete ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, which makes the adrenal glands produce cortisol, the stress hormone. GnRH, gonadotropin-releasing hormone, stimulates the release of FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormone, which control the gonads and help regulate the reproductive system. GHRH, growth hormone-releasing hormone, stimulates the production of GH, growth hormone, which affects the growth of bones and tissues. As for inhibitory hormones, GHIH, growth hormone inhibiting hormone, also known as somatostatin, tells the pituitary to stop making growth hormone. Prolactin inhibiting hormone, also called dopamine, prevents the production of prolactin, which is responsible for milk production. The posterior pituitary is the storage hub for hormones like ADH, also called vasopressin, and oxytocin, which are produced in the hypothalamus. ADH helps regulate water retention in the kidneys and increases blood pressure by causing blood vessels to constrict. Oxytocin, on the other hand, is known for its role in childbirth and breastfeeding. It causes uterine contractions during labor and milk ejection during breastfeeding. Oxytocin levels can also rise during social bonding or physical contact, making it the feel-good hormone. Let's check in on the rest of the crew, starting with the thyroid gland. Located in the neck, the thyroid produces T3 and T4 hormones, which control your metabolism. It also releases calcitonin, which helps regulate calcium levels in your blood. Just behind the thyroid, you'll find the parathyroid glands, which secrete parathyroid hormone, PTH. PTH raises blood calcium levels by signaling your bones to release calcium. Next, the adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. They have two main parts: the adrenal cortex, which produces aldosterone for water and salt retention, cortisol for stress responses, and small amounts of sex hormones; the adrenal medulla, which produces adrenaline and noradrenaline for that fight or flight response. Finally, we have the pancreas, which pulls double duty. It helps with digestion through its exocrine function, and it regulates blood sugar through its endocrine function. When blood sugar is high, beta cells release insulin to help cells take up glucose. When blood sugar is low, alpha cells release glucagon, which tells the liver to release glucose stored as glycogen. Alright, as a quick recap, the endocrine system is all about communication. We've got steroid hormones, which cross cell membranes and activate genes, and non-steroid hormones, which bind to receptors on the cell surface. Then we've got the hypothalamus and pituitary glands working together to control other glands, like the thyroid, adrenals, and gonads. And don't forget the pancreas, which plays a critical role in blood sugar regulation, and the parathyroids, which manage your calcium levels. This is the powerhouse system that keeps your body balanced, even when life gets a little chaotic. If you're looking to learn more about topics like these and keep leveling up your knowledge, check out King of the Curve, download the app for more amazing resources, practice questions, and tools that will help you stay ahead of the curve. Alright, that's it for today. Remember, knowledge is power, and you're well on your way to mastering the endocrine system.